Good morning, everyone. Creator Mom. I figured I'd talk while I was making my breakfast. I wanted to talk about this movie that I watched the other day called The Night House. I think it's a Netflix movie. Well, I really liked it. Like, it was a really good plot. My only qualm is that I think that they spent so much time developing the plot, like, and it was very suspenseful, but the ending was kind of like cheap. It was like they spent so much time on the plot of the movie that when it came to the ending, it was just like quick and like you're like, okay, like is that all you're gonna say about how this ends? So yeah, that's my only problem with it. I think that they should have done a better job with the ending. So what happens in this movie is how the movie starts is the woman's husband just died. A woman's husband just died. They live on this beautiful house that he built on a lake. I mean, it's gorgeous. And he committed suicide. He shot himself on the lake on the boat. And, the movie is basically about her wondering, like, well, of course you wonder, like, well, I knew this person. They didn't show any signs of, like, wanting to commit suicide. So it's like a shock. It's like, what happened? What were they thinking? And he left her this really, like, mysterious letter saying that she's safe now, shit like that. So, which she didn't understand. So I think it was the letter that he left her, his suicide note, that really made her even more intrigued as to what was going on with her husband. It's like you think you know someone and then all of a sudden you have no idea, like they're living a completely another life that you don't see. So she finds, first of all, she's starting to experience like weird dreams and feeling like there's another presence in the house with her. And of course the people, like her friends and coworkers are just like, well, of course, like somebody that you love just died. So, you're going to, of course, you're going to make it seem like you could still feel them. Like, of course, this shit is going to happen. Well, anyway, she's going through his stuff, like, putting things away, taking down picture frames, and she finds his plans, architectural plans for the home that he built. And she sees that he also has plans for the reverse of the layout, so a reverse layout of their home. And she finds that peculiar, but she's like, whatever, she doesn't understand it. So, at night, this presence, like she starts experiencing like supernatural stuff, and whatever this presence is drawing her to, she sees a house across the lake with lights on. But in reality, there is no house across the lake with lights on, like that she can see, like when she's awake during the daytime. So anyways, this presence leads her to go take the boat across the lake. So she actually finds another house in the woods across the lake. Like her neighbor lives across the lake too. And he's like, no, there's no other house here. Like, you know what I mean? He's just like, I think you're just going through it because of the grief. Well, anyways, she doesn't listen to him. She keeps walking down this path, and sure enough, she finds her house built in the reverse layout. So she's like, what is going on? Her first instinct, and also the neighbor admitted to her that she did see her husband across the lake one night, and he saw a girl run off. Anyways, the husband begged the neighbor to not tell his wife about, but the neighbor didn't really ask, like, well, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? What are you doing with that woman? I think the neighbor just assumed that, because the husband said, like, oh, I'm struggling with urges. well, he didn't really clarify what that meant, and the neighbor didn't really ask. So the whole time we're really like assuming that the husband has built another house to cheat on his wife just to be with other women. And the reality was that that wasn't the case at all, what she comes to find out. So what happens was that she got into an accident years and years and years ago when she was like in college, and it was her and her friend or something. They fell off a cliff, like their car, and she had to get helicoptered away, and she ended up surviving, but she did die. She died for like 4 minutes or something. So the movie insinuates that this spirit of death or something, some type of like demon, had her, like death had her, and it wanted her back. So the husband, I'm just going to tell you what she ended up finding out. The whole time she's probably making the assumption that, oh, my husband's been living this other life, like cheating on me with like other women that look like me. But then she finds out the truth, and the truth was that her husband found out about some like type of like witchcraft or supernatural like spells where you can trick a demon or whatever, like, or evil spirit to think that you're doing something that it wants you to do. So what happened was this demon that thought that it had his wife, for that 4 minutes when she died, wanted her back. So the demon or spirit was trying to convince the husband to kill the wife, right? So the husband starts going to this bookstore that has like, books about like spirits and all like spiritual supernatural stuff. And he learns about this reverse, floor plan thing. So he created a reverse replica of his home across the lake, and he brought in women that looked like his wife, and essentially he like sacrificed them or killed them to trick the demon into thinking that that was his wife. And he had to do this like repeatedly, but obviously the guy was not a killer. The movie is making the assumption that he loved his wife so much that he was doing this because the demon actually wanted him to kill, was giving him impulses or urges to kill his own wife. So then the husband kills himself. So I guess that's why he was saying like, okay, like you're safe now, like. But then this is where I thought the movie was kind of dumb, because when all this is revealed to her, then the demon starts trying to influence her to kill herself. Like it starts choking her, and then all of a sudden she's like on the boat with a gun. And I'm like, why didn't it do that in the first place? Like if it had the power to either kill her or convince her to kill herself the whole time, like why didn't it? I don't know, maybe it just looked for an easier target or something like that. So yeah. So then the movie ends with her like on this boat, and what happens is when she falls asleep, she gets into this state where she's like awake in her dreams, right? And she's actually doing things and seeing things. And so she's in this dream state on the boat with this gun, and then like her friend comes and like rescues her. Her friend's like and that was basically it. Like the movie kind of ended there, but it ended with her looking, like they got her off the boat and on the dock, and it ended with her looking towards the boat, and the neighbor guy was there too, and he's like, what are you looking at? Like nothing's there. And it shows like a little like dark shadow or whatever, but it ends there with her like looking at the boat, and you're left thinking like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Like it didn't show her like overcoming this thing. Is this thing gonna keep coming after her? How does she get rid of it? Is it going to convince her to kill herself? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't really know. So the way it ended was kind of like a cliffhanger in a way. So that's basically the gist of the movie. I don't feel like my words really gave it justice because it kind of sounds dumb now that I'm like saying it, but it was, the way they made it was really good, and it was really suspenseful because you're wondering the whole time, like, she thinks this presence in her house is her husband trying to show her something, and it even starts touching her and stuff like that, and then it reveals to her that, like, no, it's not her husband. So she's even more freaked out, like, what? So yeah, but the whole thing about I thought the whole thing about tricking the evil spirit by building a reverse plan, house plan, I thought that was like really interesting. Like, I think where they took it was interesting because I was thinking at first too, like, oh yeah, maybe her husband was cheating on her, he had a whole nother life, maybe he had a whole nother family across the lake, but it didn't take the turn you thought it was. So I think that made the movie exciting, but the ending was kind of just like,